Welcome back to our exploration of political ideologies. Today, we're delving into conservatism, the idea that asks, what should be preserved? Instead of chasing rapid, sometimes radical change.
Absolutely. It's all about the value of tradition and stability, right?
Exactly. Conservatism really emerged as a counterpoint to rapid revolutionary ideas, especially after the French Revolution.
Right.
The idea was that rapid upheaval, as seen in the Revolution, could bring unpredictable and often unstable outcomes.
And so conservatives, looking at historical experience, essentially said, let's take it slow. Would you say that's fair?
Absolutely. It's like trying to fix a watch, If you overhaul the entire mechanism all at once without respecting the craftsmanship that went into it, you risk losing the function entirely.
Yeah, that's a neat analogy. I appreciate that. But, couldn't one argue that sometimes a bigger change is necessary, especially when faced with glaring injustices?
That's a good point. Critics of conservatism do say that its cautious nature can sometimes hold back needed progress. However, proponents argue that stability and gradual change help prevent unintended consequences. It's a balancing act between preserving what works and not disrupting society too much.
Speaking of preserving, one of the foundational ideas here comes from Edmund Burke, doesn't it?
Yes, absolutely. Burke argued that a society is a complex living system shaped by traditions and customs.
Right.
Destroying long-standing institutions for abstract ideals might just unravel that complex tapestry.
It's like trying to wipe away centuries of culture to rebuild from scratch. There's that inherent risk in doing so too quickly.
Precisely. And this is why conservatism really emphasizes institutions like family, religion, and community. These are seen as the glue that holds societal order and moral stability together.
Yep, that definitely makes sense. And yet, it's interesting how conservatism also pairs with skepticism towards centralized power, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a crucial aspect. While on the one hand, conservatism respects established hierarchies, it also warns against concentrated top-down authority, especially when that power aims to rapidly change society.
Absolutely. So, what about economic conservatism? It seems to blend the idea of free markets with a limited role for government intervention.
Exactly. Economic conservatism champions free markets, private enterprise, and limited government involvement in business. The idea is that a free market nurtures innovation and personal responsibility.
Right. But then we also see cultural conservatism, which is more about preserving national identity and social norms, isn't it?
Correct. It's kind of a two-pronged approach. On one hand, you have the economic side, and on the other, the cultural side focuses on sustaining traditions and social cohesion.
Absolutely. I find it fascinating how, in the United States, conservatism often blends free market principles with strong religious and social values, whereas in Europe, it might support social welfare while still emphasizing cultural continuity.
Yeah, exactly. It's like conservatism is not a one-size-fits-all ideology. It adapts to the historical and cultural context of each region.
Right, indeed. But here's where I sometimes challenge the point. Isn't there a risk that this focus on tradition might prevent societies from addressing systemic modern issues?
That's a fair critique. Conservatives often counter that perfect equality or rapid change in pursuit of abstract ideals might actually ignore the human complexity of our societies and lead to more chaos.
I see your point. So it sounds like conservatives believe human nature is inherently imperfect, demanding a realistic rather than an idealistic approach.
Exactly. They argue that perfecting society overnight is not only unrealistic, but potentially dangerous. The emphasis is on learning from history and making small, incremental improvements.
Yep, that's true. And that gradualism, taking change step by step, is really central to conservatism, right?
Yes, indeed. It's the idea that you test changes against the backdrop of historical experience, ensuring that any shift maintains social stability.
Exactly. Now, as we see in modern political debates, Populist conservatism has also emerged. That mix of traditional values with nationalist rhetoric can stir up quite the discussion.
Absolutely. Populist conservatism, which has been quite influential in recent decades, often blends anti-elite sentiments with a strong emphasis on cultural identity and sometimes even immigration debates.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a more combative version that really reshapes how political debates play out, especially around topics like globalization.
Right. And it's interesting because while it preserves traditional social structures, it also challenges the established political order by positioning itself against centralized elite power.
That's a good observation. And then don't forget, conservatism also plays a big role in discussions about law and order, emphasizing solid institutions to ensure predictable governance.
Yes, the focus on law and order reinforces that overarching conservative belief society should be managed carefully with respect for long-established institutions to maintain social
Exactly.
cohesion.
So, if you were to ask, what is conservatism? It really boils down to a commitment to preserving historical experience, valuing tradition, and advocating for gradual change rather than revolutionary leaps.
Perfectly put. It's a philosophy rooted in the belief that societies function best when they reckon with their past, addressing the present with caution, and, looking to the future in measured steps.
Absolutely. I love how this perspective balances the need to honor history with the acknowledgement that societies must evolve. But do you think this sometimes makes conservative policies a bit too resistant to necessary reform?
That's an ongoing debate. Critics argue that conservatism might sometimes cling to outdated hierarchies, but supporters maintain that it guards against reckless experimentation that could unravel social order.
Yep, exactly. It's tempting to see each side as either too rigid or too reckless, but perhaps the truth lies in a balanced middle ground.
Right. It's about finding that equilibrium between change and continuity, a kind of calibrated approach to governance.
Indeed. As we wrap up, it's clear that understanding conservatism is crucial for engaging in today's political debates about identity, governance, and the pace of social transformation.
Absolutely. It's a perspective that invites us to consider not just where we want to go, but also what we truly value from our past and present.
Right on. And with socialism, liberalism, and other ideologies constantly reshaping our discourse, this understanding becomes even more essential.
Exactly. We'll continue to explore these ideas and see how they shape the world around us. Thanks for the great exchange today.